Ferrari has just lived through the kind of weekend every top team fears. A clean double DNF for Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton that flattened momentum, morale, and whatever was left of it. The early romance around Hamilton in red feels distant now. The grand project, the investment of time, energy, and reputation, has not paid dividends yet, and the fan base can feel the weight of that. Hamilton is still searching for rhythm inside a car and a culture that are new to him, and the results are testing his patience. Yet the calendar keeps moving, the rules reset is coming, and buried in the wreckage of a bad run, there is still a potential escape hatch. If 2026 gives him a platform, he will fight. If it does not, the exit door is not only imaginable, it is suddenly practical. And if he walks, Ferrari may already have the name circled in bold. Hamilton knows how to call time. 7 titles, the records, the comebacks, the craft he has lived through every cycle a driver can live through. And at 40, he does not owe this sport another lap to prove anything. He arrived at Ferrari with that familiar spark, but long slumps are unforgiving. The quotes before and after the summer break told their own story. He talked about wanting to rediscover joy in the middle of a season that has given him very little of it. He asked the question that cuts through any paddock spin. If you are not enjoying what you do, why are you still doing it? That is not theatre. That is a professional asking if the reward still matches the cost. He is also brutally honest with himself. When a driver of that caliber uses words like useless, even in the heat of disappointment, it shows where the bar sits in his own head. Next year's regulations could flip the board and give him a fresh handle on the car. They could also confirm that the chemistry is not there. Ferrari will hope for the first scenario. They may quietly prepare for the second. And this is where the most valuable insurance policy in modern Formula One, Max Verstappen, may come in. Red Bull weathered months of noise about 2026. Mercedes tested the locks on every door. And in the end, Verstappen said he is staying for next year. That sounded solid enough. It also left the door to 2027 cracked open. Red Bull are building their own power unit for the first time in this era, and everyone understands what that implies. If the package hits, the status quo survives. If it misses, even by a narrow margin, the equation changes fast. For a driver who measures seasons in wins and titles, there are clauses, thresholds, and summer break checkpoints baked into the fine print. The short version is simple. If Max is not where he needs to be in the standings when the trigger dates come around, options appear. When options appear, Ferrari becomes attractive. Mercedes tried to make room, but the public line has settled on continuity with George Russell and Andrea Kimi Antonelli. That stabilizes Brackley and cools speculation in the short term, but it does not remove Verstappen's leverage. McLaren looks set with Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, which makes them a less likely landing spot for the next shuffle. Aston Martin sits in the background with infrastructure, ambition, and the potential pull of Adrian Newey if timelines converge. Yet, if Hamilton steps away at the end of 2026, rather than taking any option for 2027, the red car instantly becomes the most compelling seat in the sport. Verstappen would not be walking into a rebuild from zero. He would be walking into a global brand that has reorganized heavily, that wants a finishing piece, and that can pay for one. The narrative around Verstappen is no longer just about raw speed. It is about control. He spent years building a project in his own image at Red Bull, and the last seasons made him the reference point every weekend. That level of dominance never lasts forever, and this year showed that even his margins can shrink when rivals get their act together. It does not mean the crown has slipped. It does mean he can see a future where the path of least resistance is somewhere else. He is a father now. He thinks in longer arcs, and he is curious about competition outside Formula One. Those are not exit lines, they are perspective. The message underneath is consistent. He wants a clean fight, a tight, competent operation, and a car that matches his standard. If politics, penalties, or technical uncertainty muddy the water too much, he will look for clarity. That is where Ferrari's current headache becomes tomorrow's opening. If Hamilton's search for joy comes up empty through 2026, he could put the helmet on the shelf with the dignity he earned. The team would then need a leader who carries speed, aggression, and credibility into a rule set that can still be exploited. Verstappen fits that template better than anyone. If it narrows to retirement, the phone calls begin. Ferrari will not hesitate. They will ask the only driver who can stabilize the narrative overnight if he wants to try the red suit. Verstappen will not hesitate to listen. He will look at the technical group, the wind tunnel data, the simulator correlations, the people on the pit wall, and he will ask one question: can this car start at the front and stay there? If the answer is yes, the sport gets a new era with an old emblem at the center. If the answer is no, he stays where he is, or he rewrites the map in another shade of green. The grid feeds on uncertainty, and right now it has plenty. Ferrari is under strain, Hamilton is searching, Red Bull is building something unproven, and Verstappen is uniquely positioned to decide how the next cycle looks. That is the real warning for everyone. Not a retirement threat or a casual rumor, but the simple reality that the most decisive driver on the planet holds more cards than ever. If Hamilton finds happiness and pace, the story stabilizes. If he does not, the most logical replacement is already casting a shadow over Maranello. Either way, the sport wins on narrative tension. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments down below.